Hey, what is up, everybody? This is your boy AJTRIP. Welcome to Dash to Shoot. This is my show where I talk about what's going on in the world of professional wrestling. Usually, I try to do it each and every week. Some things have been going on early this year in my life that have just knocked that off of the spectrum. So, I'm not gonna say it's a weekly show. I'm gonna try to make it weekly, but nevertheless, it just is what it is. So, with that being said, let's go ahead and jump right into the action because we've got a lot of news to talk about this week, including what happened yesterday. Vince McMahon on the Pat McAfee show. He was on the Pat McAfee show. It was the first time he just sat there a sat down interview in over 15 years. I think it has been that Vince McMahon has done, and he did it with Pat McAfee. That shows you how how Vince feels about Pat McAfee in this short time. Excuse me, and so this is just a couple things that I wrote down that I thought were interesting from the thing. We're talking about why wrestling is not. He doesn't call wrestling wrestling. He calls wrestling sports entertainment. It's because he wanted it to be something different. He wanted to have it be mean something different. It wasn't necessarily the fact that he feels that wrestling is bad or anything like that. It's just that he wanted his company, the WWF at the time, not WWE, to be different. And he talked about that as well. He talked about how the panda got him and with the WWF thing. So, but yeah, he wanted. The reason why it's sports entertainment and not professional wrestling is because he wanted it to be different. He would Vince McMahon will induct the Undertaker into the Hall of Fame. That was announced yesterday on the show. Vince loves confrontation. He loves it, and he loves what comes from it. He loves the feeling of it. Whether it's a war with WCW or whether it's the kind of backstage conversation and anything like that. So it was really interesting thought. He loves. I mean, most people don't like confrontation. They want to stay away from confrontation, but he likes it. He enjoys it. It adrenalates him. Um, Vince said that after WrestleMania 4, WrestleMania 5, after the success of that, he started cock walking himself, saying, "Yeah, I am the man. I'm the man." But he had to quickly quickly take that out, saying, "Vince, you're nothing. You're still nothing. Don't 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 do this to yourself because it can as quickly as it can come, it can be torn down." And he talked about in an interview about WrestleMania and how he had took out I don't know what he called it, but it was WWE could have been taken away from him from the bank. But everything worked out with WrestleMania, and we're at the place where now where we're heading to WrestleMania 38 in about 4 weeks. Um, after WWE went public, um, he wanted to run the company with his head and not his heart. He had been running his company from his heart for most of his time in owning the WWF/WWE, and that's why you hear all the things like the Ultimate Warrior, and he brought the Ultimate Warrior back so many times, and there were so many other things, and we know the thing with Shawn Michaels being such in his early time, being such a prick, and Vince McMahon not dealing with it so much. But when WWE went public, he had to focus on the shareholders, and that's one of the things about the releases, and that's one of the things that I think a lot of people say that they over the last years released over 100 people, you know, talent and other people such alike, but that's had to be done because of the public. And he has to do it with his head and his heart. He may like a lot of the people that he released, but because of his head and because he caters to the shareholders, he now has to run WWE with his head and not his heart. Um, Vince tells a story about how JR once told him a story about Bill Watts down in Mid South and how JR was in the bathroom doing his business, and four four rival promoters came in, and they were talking about trying to off Vince McMahon and how they were going to do it,
and where it was going to happen, because back in the 80s, Vince McMahon was doing things that you weren't supposed to be doing. You weren't supposed to be going into the territory and poaching talent away, or you wasn't trying to go into the territory and bring your wrestling into that territory. You know, and other things I'm sure that were not fast. So JR is sitting on the toilet, putting his feet up, trying not to make a sound, but nature is calling, and he can hear these four guys talking about trying to, off Vince McMahon. So I thought that was a good one Vince told. Um, Vince is a workout freak, we know it. He starts at training at 1:30 a.m. and he finishes by 3 a.m. I mean, how do you sleep? I mean, what do you do? Right? Do you at 3 a.m. Do you then go to sleep, get a couple hours, and then wake back up and get ready to go? That's amazing. He also mentioned something like that he squats 1,000 pounds at 76 years old. What? Are you kidding me? What is going on here? So that was kind of crazy. Um, so they asked a couple of questions, and one question they asked was about COVID, and Vince never thought about canceling the show during COVID. He never thought. He thought he would, and we know this. Vince was going to press on. He was still trying to get WrestleMania to happen in Tampa Stadium for the longest time. It just could not do it, and that's why they do it from the Performance Center. So yeah, he had never thought about canceling COVID, or we also canceled COVID. Never canceling your show during COVID. And obviously they went from the Performance Center to the Thunderdome and a couple of different stadiums. So yeah, that was very interesting. Um, Tell us about Brock Lesnar is really fucking intelligent. That's a quote. A quote. Really fucking intelligent. He loves Brock Lesnar. He loves his acumen for business and everything like that. And yeah, we know he's a big business deal, and many people wonder about his Brock Lesnar's just like staying, being a part timer, and his time and everything like that. But that's probably part of the business. I think that Vince likes that. I think he knows what he wants, and not afraid to ask for it. I think Vince likes that. We know he does. Um, Vince would rather be behind the camera than in front of the camera. Now he needed in the Attitude Era. He had a lot of fun, and he needed to be the Vince McMahon character. He needed to be the arrogant boss asshole that Steve Austin wanted to kick the shit out of, so that because that's what everybody out there wants, including Vince. Vince himself. He's had that. He's had that thing where he wanted to kick the shit out of his boss, and so yeah, they were doing a lot of that. And I think that I thought that was very interesting. I thought that was a cool quote right there. So this is a couple of takeaways, and there's many more other things to come from that. From that interview. It's such a good interview. It's here on YouTube. Check it out. Pat McAfee Show. It's really, really fun. Um, it's a really, really fun thing, and it's kind of incredible that Vince was able to do this. He flew in just to do it. Because Pat said he was hoping maybe like a phone interview, or maybe even like a Skype type of thing. Vince flew into Indianapolis to do that video just for that day. And they're going to, now Vince flying, tonight they're in Miami for SmackDown, and Vince is going to fly to Miami for SmackDown. I don't know if he did it yesterday or he's doing it right now, but whatever. But it's really incredible. So yeah, this is all great interview, and I loved it. It was so fun. Great interview from Pat McAfee. Um, I was hoping Vince would go on the Broken Skull sessions with Stone Cold Steve Austin, and he still may do that one time. But this was just as good. Another big news story this week: Tony Khan buys Ring of Honor, and that was something that was kind of rumored, maybe thought of, but didn't necessarily think it would happen. But he announced it this past week on Dynamite. So let's go ahead and let's read an article from Bleacher Report. If it will load. By the way, some of you guys may notice that I am fidgeting around and I am moving around in my seat and everything like that in my videos. Not only this one, but maybe a few videos you're going to see upcoming in the next couple of days. I'm going to do a video. I'm going to do a kind of a simulcast. I'm going to do a podcast that's also going to be video on Monday. And I'm going to explain some of the things that have been happening with me the past couple months. The accuracy of loading and things like that, what's going on with me and everything like that. So, and that might explain what's happening with me and my fidgeting and things like that. So I hope it's not too distracting. I apologize if it is. But here it goes. From Bleacher Report, AEW CEO Tony Khan announces contract to acquire Ring of Honor. All Elite Wrestling CEO Tony Khan is expanding his reach in the pro wrestling world. During the opening segment of AEW Dynamite on Wednesday, Kahn announced that he has purchased Ring of Honor, one of the most influential independent wrestling promotions in the history of the business. Ring of Honor was greatly affected by the COVID-19 pandemic. Last October, the company announced it would not be holding shows in the first quarter of 2022 as it rebrands itself. It was reported that the talent contracts were not being renewed in December while the company was on hiatus. As part of the deal, Kahn acquired Ring of Honor's extensive video library dating back to 2002. Kahn, who is the son of Jacksonville Jaguars owner Shad Khan, also indicated he is hoping to put together future Ring of Honor events and shows. This deal adds thousands of hours of content to our rapidly growing library, and it creates new opportunities to expand our footprint on a national and global scale, while having the potential to produce new content under the Ring of Honor banner, Kahn's statement read. Some of the top AEW superstars have wrestled for Ring of Honor during their careers. CM Punk, Bryan Danielson, Adam Cole, and AEW champion Adam Hangman Page had all spent time in Ring of Honor. The promotion also helped launch the careers of some of the WWE top superstars like Seth Rollins and Kevin Owens. Ring of Honor is scheduled to hold its first show of 2021 Supercard of Honor 15 on April 1st at the Curtis Caldwell Center in Garland, Texas. So, here is my thoughts on Ring of Honor being bought by Tony Khan. Yeah, I mean, it is what it is. Good for him. There are some rumors that WWE were interested in buying Ring of Honor. Who knows if that was the case? There was a rumor that Triple H was going to get WWE to buy it, but Triple H has lost a lot of power within that company. So, but it is what it is. I don't think this changes anything for me and my thoughts about this. I've said this before again, and I will say this again. I said this that I think that AEW, for as hot as it is right now, I don't think they can continue. And maybe I'll be proven wrong. I doubt it. And I continue to say, I think by 2025, that's 3 years. In 2025, I don't think AEW is going to be as hot as some people think it is, and I don't think it's going to be as popular as some people think it is. And I think there's a great chance it won't be on the Turner networks. They will be looking to have Dynamite and Rampage on some other stations. Like I talked about it with like TNA. TNA was on Spike TV. They were taking off Spike TV, and then they were put on like the TV Guide channel, and they were put on Pop TV, and then they were put on Destination America. They were on all these other channels, and not channels that would be hard to find, channels that were not on normal cable packages. And I think that could definitely be AEW in by the end of 2025. But so I don't think this is a big deal. I don't think this means that still AEW is better than WWE, because it's not. I just think Tony Khan bought Ring of Honor, and so there you have it. This is my take. So as most of you know, Russia has invaded Ukraine, and it is a, for some people, it is a very scary thing, a very scary world, and thoughts of World War III and all those other things are happening because of what has happened over there with Russia and being invading Ukraine. And there are, again, it is obviously politicized, and there are a lot of people who, you know, find what Russia is doing to be, I guess, admirable or okay with it, or something like that. But including people in the wrestling world and including WWE Hall of Famers and uh, Kane, real name Glenn Jacobs. He is a mayor of Knox County in Tennessee. He tweeted about it, and it got a lot of people, talking about it. And so here is, yeah, I'm gonna X that out. Okay, so here's what Kane tweeted at 11:35 a.m. on February 22nd, 2022. If you are on the left and are shocked by Putin's aggression, wake up, sunshine. Historically, in the real world, might makes right. Weakness, which is what the left is really about, is not a virtue. It's a fatal character flaw. And no, the U.S. should still not get involved. That was his first tweet. Then he said, I highly doubt Putin cares a whit about toxic masculinity, the counterculture, mutawa, or any of the other things the radical left stands for. And this got a lot of people on their ass. A lot of people talking about, chair shots to the head, and that's what, and that's why King tweeted that, and other things that are going on. We had Hangman Page, who he tweeted some links to UNICEF to help Ukraine or anything like that. There are a lot of other things that are going on. Uh, so this is from Deadspin. I'm not gonna read. Well, maybe I will reread all of it. It isn't actually. It is. I thought maybe it was a longer article than maybe it actually thought it was. So maybe I'll just read it here. And I'll give you my thoughts. Glenn Jacobs sounds like the name of a seriously minded small town southern mayor with libertarian sensibilities, but a stable worldview. That is until you realize he spent the last few decades playing Kane, a character who is best can be described as Michael Myers but obsessed with fire instead of sharp knives. Jacobs, who spent most notable years in the industry playing a character who wore a mask and only spoke in monosyllable phrases. Before that, he played a maniacal dentist. Meanwhile, in Kiev, Ukraine, I hope I'm pronouncing that right, the Klitschko brothers, one of whom serves as that city's mayor, joining combat battalions to push back the Russian invasion. I can't believe I'm writing that sentence and it isn't in the synopsis for an Oscar-nominated war epic. Tennessee has the wrestler formerly known as Kahn rooting for the Russians to give the left an exhibition in how right will stomp out the weak-ass libs or something. Toward the end of his WWE career, Jacobs began hinting at following Jesse Ventura's footsteps into the political ring, and he followed through in 2018. Since then, he's been the mayor of Knox County, Tennessee, which has a population of approximately 500,000 people. As the same Western democratic world rallied around Ukraine, Jacobs has a different, more disturbing tone to offer, and it sums up the current state of American politics. Instead of calling for peace, Jacobs is rooting for Ukraine to get chokeslam stomped out so he can affirm his authoritarian worldview. I was under the impression that conservatives envision themselves as defenders of democracy by embracing the Second Amendment and that Red Dawn is their blueprint. And since when is the left surprised by Putin's aggression? Democrats spent the last 4 years warning the world that the previous president was too ubiquitous to Putin and sociopathic authoritarian types. This part makes one question whether repeated head trauma has impaired Jacob's cognitive ability. AEW champion Adam Page hinted at the same by replying to Jacobs' tweet offering links to humanitarian aid as well as a video entitled 10 Ruthless Chair Shots Kane took to the head. Page might be on to something because no superstar walked unfazed through steel chair shots to the dome quite like Kane. He did. The toxic overconfidence spewed by Jacobs and like-minded politicians has led to world powers getting knocked to the canvas by weaker armies. Vietnam and Afghanistan, for instance, were disproved Jacobs' juvenile might makes right war theories. Beyond that, laugh at Jacobs at your peril. Jacobs rooting on the Russians to own the lib shows just how the right-wing media has poisoned the minds of its audience. Jacobs probably spent the last 20 years consuming all of the right-wing talking points, and his tweet doubles as an insight into the process of the modern Republican. The Republican base has admired strong men for decades, and in 2009, two professors published a book on the subject. They had discovered that a surprisingly large portion of an American electorate had latent authoritarian views doing their research. Eventually, that strand of the GOP would gain enough power to make themselves heard. Since 2020, Republicans have been attempting the same propaganda Russians used to paint themselves as liberators of Ukraine to embrace their might over elections. So paranoid about the future of democracy that he'll adopt an authoritarian regime invading a European democracy to save the world from the left. Jacob's fantasies about crushing a smaller country under his heel might sound asinine, but it describes the agenda of the modern GOP. In their minds, they have the most guns, the most muscle, and the libs are a bunch of woke eggheads who will retreat to safe spaces when they attempt another takeover, kind of like how Jacobs associates Ukraine with woke culture. In doing so, he gives away the game. Kane was a 6'7" slab of meat. He's actually tall. He was actually like 6'9", 6'10". During his wrestling career, who was undeterred by smaller opponents. Maybe he was telling us something all the time. I think that was written great, and I think it speaks to everything that it comes down to. Listen, I'm sure there's been Republicans in wrestling for the longest time. I can remember, in 2000 when they were talking about that election. They were talking about that really big election. And WWE was about that. If you remember, WWE sent China and Iraq to the Democratic and Republican conventions, right? Um, and they were talking about all those things. I remember Jerry Lawler said he wasn't going to vote for. He basically said he wasn't going to vote for Al Gore. On that. So there's been Republicans and Democrats in wrestling all the time, but it's now because politics is so popularized and so it's so talked about, and we're so far. We're way more than 2000. In 2000, but I guess and you think about 2000 issues, what it was stem cell research and abortion and gay marriage. That's what like separated us, right? And that's what made us, seemingly so dark. We thought we were so far away from there, but it's just grown, and we are even more farther away politically than ever before. And now with Twitter and everybody can speak on it, you're going to get wrestlers, maybe your favorite wrestlers, speaking on it. And we saw what happened during 2020 and with Jackson Riker, and so we know Austin Aries and his COVID crap. So it just is what it is. And for me, it doesn't change anything about Kane as a wrestler. Kane as it really didn't change anything about Kane as a person. I just think the tweet is just ridiculously stupid, and Deadspin, they had it best what they wrote. Alright, so now let's talk about our main topic for today. And that is, does Ronda Rousey really want to be here? Does Ronda Rousey want to be a WWE superstar? A few years ago, yes, I think she did. I think that she was obviously a huge WWE fan. I think that she wanted to make that transition. She wanted to try it, see how it was, and she had a fantastic rookie year. The WrestleMania match at 34 with her and Kurt Angle versus Stephanie and Triple H was awesome. It was incredible, right? Um, that year she had some of the best she she had some of the best matches with Nia Jax, and she had some entertaining things. She didn't look green at all. Didn't look green at all. She had some hiccups here and there, but she looked like she looked like she was a natural for the business, right? But there's that Survivor Series match with her against Charlotte Flair after Nia Jax broke Becky Lynch's face. Um, there's that Survivor Series match, and after that match in her hometown, Los Angeles, California, she's being after Charlotte Flair has destroyed her with a kendo stick after the match. She's being taken back to the back. She's being booed. She's being booed, and she didn't like that. You can even tell when she's walking up there. She said, "You're not a man." She's talking to somebody out there who's not a man because he either said something to her or he was booing her, and she didn't like it. And she hasn't liked it, and she never did like it. And then quickly after that, she did turn heel for the whole WrestleMania stretch, and it's just and I don't think she's gotten over that. There's been articles about it. I got a couple articles here. Um, Ronda Rousey said she's forgiven WWE fans for booing her. Ronda Rousey has spoken. This is from, by the way, Digital Spy. Ronda Rousey has spoken about having to forgive WWE fans for booing her during her last run with the company. Speaking on her YouTube show, Ronda on the Road, Ronda explained how the fans reacted negatively to her during the lead up to her WrestleMania 35 match with Becky Lynch and Charlotte Flair in 2019, led her to believe she would get the same reaction this time around. I came out feeling super defensive from the beginning. At the Royal Rumble, it wasn't like that, but I just assumed the reaction would be from the surprise. So coming out to Raw and Becky was going to be there, I was like, okay, this is when they're going to troll me the most. This is when they're going to try and chant Becky every time I open my mouth. This is the time they're going to start screaming and with the most hurtful things they can say. This is when they're going to start bringing the posters and saying the most hurtful things they can think of. And so I came out anticipating that. And I mean, everything went fine. Of course, there were those 3 or 4 guys on the floor that were just screaming as I was talking, and I really had to concentrate to block them out. Ronda Rousey went on to explain that following her in-ring segment on Raw, she went backstage where Paul Heyman told her Vince McMahon was going to ask her to smile. I got through it and I came out and Heyman was like, "You did great, but I'm going to tell you, he's going to tell you one thing. He's going to tell you to smile," Ronda explained. So I went to talk to Vince and he was like, "That was fantastic. Just, you need to smile." I was telling him, they were booing me on the way out of every stadium. He's like, "Yeah, but they're forgiving you for that." And I'm like, "Well, I haven't forgiven them." And he goes, "But it's not about you. It's about them." It was such a good point that I've been thinking about myself and how this relates to myself, and I was forgetting that this is a show about entertaining them. Ronda continued. I feel like I got the jitters out. I got my first performance out of the way. I got my first promo out of the way. So going into the SmackDown next Friday, I'm like, okay, I'm not going to come out all guarded and defensive. I'm going to go out and actually feel the crowd and let them be a part of it. So, yeah. And so that's what that. She hadn't forgiven the fans, and she had to come back. And I'm actually very shocked that she did to come back. I'm not shocked that she got the whole you know um, the return pop that everybody gets when you're off for a while and you come back. Everybody gets that return pop and that return cheer, right? It's happened for 20 years. You can go back to the Triple H injury, right? Triple H injury. Triple H was a heel part of the 2-man pod trip, tells his squad. He comes back in January, Madison Square Garden. He gets this big ovation, and so it happens every year. And So I think that's you know I think that's a part of it. And you know so when Ronda does that, and she feels like that way, but you still feel that maybe she's not giving everything at all that she has been in the past. Because again, we go back at 2019, the promos and everything like that. They were a little bit more. She was a little bit more excited to seem like they're doing them. Even when she came out on SmackDown this past week and did the interview with Mike, it seemed like that she was again not there. Now she's not been the best promo, which is incredible because when she was in UFC, it seemed like that all she did was talk, and she talked well, but she can't do it here. I'm not sure exactly what it is, but it seemed like that it was just that she just was wanting to be there, right? She's going through the motions. Even I have an article here from WrestlingNews.co. Eric Bischoff doesn't think Ronda Rousey is happy in a role. I'm not looking at her in the ring, and she's not an actress. So we'll look at this. On the 83 Weeks podcast, Eddie Bischoff was asked if Charlotte Flair should be the babyface and Ronda Rousey the heel going into WrestleMania 38. I'm looking at her in the ring, and she's not an actress, Richard said about Rousey. She's not. So what you see is what you get in terms of the way she carries herself. She's not trying to be anything else. She doesn't have the ability to be. She's so very raw in that sense. When I'm watching her, I'm looking at somebody who is just not happy in the role that she is in. She's not happy being in that ring. She's doing it, and probably for a very good reason, but I don't get the feeling that she digs it. I really don't. Bischoff also said Rousey needs to not be on TV every week because that would hurt her drawing power. So I wouldn't change too much to accommodate her presence, but I wouldn't bank on it. I don't think she's going to be a draw if she's an everyday thing. If we're going to see her every Monday night or every Friday, that stock is going to go down real fast. Real fast. Why would you sacrifice a quality heel in Charlotte for someone who may or may not be around? And if she does stick around, her stock is going to drop precipitously. Also on this week's podcast, oh wait a minute, okay, so that's other things. Okay, so going back to like this main topic, does Ronda Rousey want to be here? And I said I don't think she might be, and maybe that's unfair to Ronda, and I would truly admit that because maybe she does want to be there, but again, she's just maybe as Eric says, she doesn't want to be in the role. She doesn't want to forgive the fans. She wants to be the heel. She wants to tell the heel. She wants to tell the fans to go fuck off. And maybe she can do that. Maybe she can do that after WrestleMania, after her program with Charlotte Flair. Because Charlotte Flair is probably right now a better heel and can be a better heel for this program. But yeah, you can tell that this Ronda now is totally different than the Ronda we saw in 2019. That's unfortunate. Hopefully that Ronda in 2019 will come back and she will be as magnanimous and as great as she was in her rookie year. So I'm looking forward to watching more of this and seeing more of Ronda Rousey and hoping that this, that she gets more into this role that she is being, and hopefully it's a better spot for her. All right, y'all. That is it for this edition of That to Shoot. Put your comments down below. Tell me what you guys think. Let me know what you guys think about the topics at hand. Vince McMahon on the Pat McAfee Show. Tony Khan buying Ring of Honor. KANE'S tweet about Ukraine, or of course the main topic, Ronda Rousey. Does she want to be here? Thank you guys so much for bearing with me again. Hopefully my fidgeting around wasn't too much for you. Again, I have a video out Monday I'm going to do that will explain everything, so make sure you're there for that. Click the notification bell so that when I put out videos like that or any other videos when I go live for the reactions, that you will be able to see what this is about, and we know what this means. All right. Okay. Thank you guys so much for watching. This is your boy, AJTRIP, signing off. As always, be good to each other, y'all. Be careful out there. And I am out.